What's up, everybody? Welcome to Kiss Meets the podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Eli Clausen.
And I'm Luke Neely.
All right, this week we are kind of revisiting a old idea per se that we did. We haven't done this on the show since the very infant stages of the show, but we are putting a twist on it this time. So this is going to be fun to go back and do this again, and especially with the twist we've added. And we hope to hear all of the input from you guys in the chat and everything. And so what we decided to do is go through just the '70s albums. So that's 14 in total, including both the lives and double platinum, and then obviously the solo albums. Um, 14 albums there, ranking them from our least favorite to favorite album. But not only that, if that wasn't hard enough, we decided we have to pick our one favorite song of the entire '70s period and our one least favorite song of that entire '70s period. So, very tough. This is going to be interesting. Space Ace Ron, what's up? We
What's
want to
up?
hear your input on this as we go along. Favorite and least favorite '70s albums. All right. So, God, we've got a little more news to cover this week again. God, last week it kind of started off with the, kind of bad news with Paul and the COVID thing, but, we all figured he would be okay, and it seems like he is. And, but unfortunately, of course, everyone knows that Gene now tested positive, and, it seems like his symptoms were pretty mild as well. Thank God. And hopefully by now he's okay already. But as expected, they did end up canceling the local date that was actually supposed to be last night. And as on top of that, I think like three other shows that were scheduled right around the time frame, they all decided to take a break. They all went back home, resting up for like 10 days, and then the plan, I believe, is it the ninth that they're shooting for?
I think you're right.
The ninth, and I believe it's in California, so kind of handy for them, being already out there close to home. So they're going to attempt to restart this league once again, around the ninth or so of this month. Of course, all the dates were not officially labeled as canceled; they were just called postponed. So that technically does mean that there will be a reschedule. Um, I don't know, man. I'm kind of skeptical because looking at the list of shows they've got planned out, especially once they go overseas. I mean, it looks like this thing runs until like summer of next year. And I'm like, how are they going to have time to reschedule these shows and then bounce them back and forth with everything else that's going on, Vegas residency and now and all that now, and the cruise and
Right. Definitely seems kind of unlikely. And I can't see them tacking this on to the end either. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't really make logistical sense to do that.
right. And we still don't have that official announcement of here is the last show period. And definitely isn't a New York announcement yet as far as that goes, because right now the last tour date that's listed is somewhere overseas. I forget where, but I would highly doubt that that's going to be the very last show,
Right.
after the original plan. So we still don't even know that, like, when is the real final show going to finally take place that we talked about. And um, you know is it going to happen? And I know this leg is supposed to end October 9th, I believe, and then they've got like another, I think it's like a 20-day break until the cruise. And then once they get back from the cruise, they basically got month and a half to kind of gear up for the Vegas thing. um, I don't think they're doing anything between that. I think they're just resting up until the Vegas thing, and then they pretty much head overseas, and it's just like this massive list of shows overseas. So, hey, Robbie, what's up, man? Good to see you. Yeah, Gene did test positive. From what we understand, his symptoms were very, very mild, maybe even more so than Paul's. But thankfully, it doesn't sound like anything serious. Um, yeah, we haven't heard any updates since the day that they announced that Gene tested positive, and that they were taking this 10-day break. So not 100% what's going on, but I'm guessing that everything's well. And we kind of talked about it last week, but I guess kind of the plus side of the fact that they were already vaccinated, when they test positive for this, it essentially is almost like your basic flu is kind of what they end up catching in a way. So it's a lot easier to kick and get rid of at this point, especially with their age, like we focused on. Hopefully we'll get some updates soon, and definitely hoping he gets better. Best wishes to the Demon, and same to Paul. Still, I know Paul says he's fine, but still hopefully that he doesn't get affected and get sick again, or anybody else gets sick. So everybody just kind of resting and relaxing.
Definitely. I see Chicken in Translation has already solved one problem for us, telling us You Matter to Me is definitely the best song of the 70s.
There you go.
That's one thing ticked off the list. Done.
See, we figured it was going to be Sugar Papa Likes, but hey, at least you're on the same album there. So
yeah. See, I pretty much just had to write that particular song off because, like, as we discussed prior to starting filming, or this might have even been a couple days ago now. I mean, really, that's the kind of Sugar Papa Likes the only Kiss song I like at all. So, to be fair, I just had to pretend like that song didn't exist so that I could pick the next okay one.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think that's all the news bits this week in the Kiss world. Kind of bad, but also thankfully some good in there in a way. So I don't think there's anything to be worried about, and let's just wait and see what happens with these postponed dates. If they do get rescheduled, if they don't, I don't know. We'll just obviously have to play it by ear like we have been and see what happens. So, all right. No comments this week, but we do, of course, have our results for the polls. And I just realized I totally have not seen this week's polls yet.
Oh, yes. Yeah, they were posted kind of late today. I rolled into the studio a little bit late.
Yeah, I got home and was out there stuffing my face trying to eat real quick. And then I got into doing something on the computer real quick and totally forgot to even look at them for this week. So I'll be surprised to hear what they are, just as you guys. But I did look at last week's results, and I feel like we do have a few interesting results with a few of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the crew's getting in.
Matter to Me could have been on the Grease soundtrack. I could imagine that.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
It's funny you say that. I saw a meme the other day where somebody took the Grease movie poster and they painted Peter and I think Gene's face paint on both characters.
Yeah,
so it's called Grease. That was clever.
That's good. All right, so let's talk polls here. Just in case anybody watching this now or later happens to be a first-time viewer, if you haven't already, run over to Facebook and check us out on there. Kiss Meets the Podcast. You can like or follow our page or whatever Facebook is getting their hands in nowadays. We also have a private group. It's just called Kiss Meets the Podcast group. You can search for that. You do have to request access to join. We approve everybody, so don't let that stop you. The reason we have a group and the reason you should join it is because that is the only place nowadays that Facebook lets us create polls and multiple choice questions and that sort of thing. Has to be in a group for some reason. I don't know. Facebook's Facebook. So what we like to do over there is create these massive Kiss song tournaments where we pit all sorts of Kiss songs head to head to see who comes out on top. We've just recently started a huge tournament that consists of all sorts of Kiss songs, studio versions, live versions, remixed versions from greatest hits, all sorts of stuff. 400 and something Kiss songs. We're still in the beginning stages of round one. So jump in there. Even if we're about to end it, jump in there. We want as many votes on these as possible. All you got to do is request access. We'll get you in, and then you can tell us what's your favorite song and why. Pick all of these, and we can band together as a group to vote Sonic Boom Disc 2 out of the running. One song at a time.
Yeah, just welcomed in a new member earlier today. So thanks for joining, and please keep spreading the word to all your friends. And also here on the YouTube side of things, we don't pay a lot of attention to the channel numbers, but I noticed the other day that we have gained a little bit of subscribers. So we definitely appreciate that. And again, please spread the word, tell people to subscribe if they want to check out a cool Kiss podcast.
Absolutely, yeah. Yep. Get them in here so we can all complain about stuff together. Yeah. There's nothing more fun than that. All right, so we post 6 new matches every single week, and the polls are open for a week. So we've just posted 6, literally not even an hour ago. You can go vote on right now. The 6 from last week, the polls are closed, and the results are as follows. We posted last week, What's on Your Mind from the Ace solo album versus You Matter to Me from the Peter album. And unfortunately, I think something must have gotten rigged because What's on Your Mind won that with 65%. So sorry, chicken there.
Yeah. Hey, I did vote for You Matter to Me, just for the record. So
Nice. We posted Heavens on Fire from Sonic Boom Disc 2 versus Beth from Destroyer. Believe it or not, Heavens on Fire got a couple of votes. Beth still destroyed it with 80%.
I was worried about that one, regardless of the Sonic Boom thing or not, because again, just seeing the song title,
Right.
I was kind of worried about that. I'm glad to see Beth finally get something this time.
Yes, absolutely. It bears mentioning this particular tournament is a lot about the version of the song, not just the song itself, but the particular version, which is why we've always got an album in parentheses next to it. So if you see something like that, it's not just the song Heavens on Fire versus the song Beth. It's, in this case, it was the version of Heavens on Fire they re-recorded in 2008 or whatever it was as Jigoku Retsuden or Kiss Classics, ended up getting released as a bonus disc on Sonic Boom, versus the version of Beth from Destroyer. So always make sure you're familiar with the version that you're taking a peek to. Because let me tell you, one of Kiss's favorite things to do on Greatest Hits albums was remix songs really badly. Which, as we found out a couple of weeks ago, is just my opinion. So definitely don't be afraid. All the stuff's on YouTube. Don't be afraid to go listen and refresh your memory if you're not familiar with a weird version you see.
Absolutely.
We also posted Tunnel of Love from the Gene solo album versus Domino from Revenge. Domino takes that one with 81%. We got the Star Spangled Banner from Alive 3 versus Tough Love from Revenge. Tough Love takes that one with 83%. We had our real close match here of this one, Betrayed from Hot in the Shade versus Burning Up with Fever from Gene's solo album. And Betrayed just barely scrapes by one single vote, 52%. Betrayed takes that one. And finally, I Love It Loud from Creatures versus A World Without Heroes from Music from the Elder. I Love It Loud takes that one with 64%.
Nice. Hey, I'm proud of Burning Up with Fever that it performed that well. It was that close.
Yeah, yep. I think it was like 14 votes versus 15 votes or something. It was very, very close. Okay, so right now, you can jump over to Facebook and vote on the 6 matches we post. Like I said, maybe an hour ago. So the voting, it's still hot. Jump in there while everybody's alive. Leave us a comment, too, on any or all of the polls. let us know why you picked the one you picked, or why you didn't pick the one you didn't pick. Either way, we want to hear. Yeah. Yes. Hey, that song's in here too. I don't know what it's up against, but the ones you can vote on right now are Forever from Alive 4 versus King of Hearts from Hot in the Shade.
Ooh.
Gimme More from Lick It Up versus Long Way Down from Monster. I'm Alive from Asylum versus I Was Made for Lovin' You from Killers.
Ooh.
So again, that's the version of Made for Lovin' You on the Killers' greatest hits. So it is remix. Shout Mercy from Monster versus Rock and Roll All Night from Alive.
Oh.
Shout Mercy's going to crush that. Fractured Mirror from Ace's solo album versus Rock Bottom / She from Double Platinum.
That might be a tricky match there.
I'm curious for that. And finally, Come On and Love Me from Dress to Kill versus We Are One from Psycho Circus. Nice. Chicken says they voted. Nice.
Thank you. That's what we like to hear.
Yes, and I know Brandon just got into the group last week too, so
yes,
everybody's doing good. So very much appreciated all the support there and jumping in on our weird Kiss song tournaments.
We did at the last minute before we went live. We did get the votes in from Steve and Rochelle McGowan for the Paul Stanley Soul Station album that we did last week. So thank you guys for that. We'll see if that did any changes to the overall rankings or not. Right.
Let's check that out right now. Looks like we actually only got Steve's picks, and okay. Rochelle is going to do hers next week. So okay. we'll no problem there.
Speaking of Steve, if you guys are into metal, Christian metal, his band Weapons of God, who is our label mates on Rocks Records, their brand new album just dropped today.
Yeah,
their second release. So go check it out, pick it up, support those guys.
Absolutely. I'm excited to listen to some of that. I've just heard the one single they put out.
Yeah, I'm going to pirate it and download it for free. Just kidding, Steve. Or am I?
Ooh.
No, we want a vinyl. Is it coming out on vinyl? Let us know.
Yeah. So Steve's top 4 were Just My Imagination, Ooh Child, Lorelei, and IOI.
I think that might shake it up a bit.
Yeah. 6, Maybe I Need Your Loving was the final track. 8 is Ooh Baby. 9, The Tracks of My Tears. 10 is Save Me From You. 11 is I Do. You Are Everything is 12. Let's Stay Together. 13. And La La Means I Love You in 14.
I was surprised we didn't find out there's like some Japanese version that has like 5 extra songs or something.
Yeah.
That's how it always goes.
It really is. All right, so let's retally this up real quick. I wish I could share my screen to you guys so that you could see how this stuff works. It would be a little bit more interesting.
Yeah.
My tears. Yeah, this is still really close. We're definitely going to have to talk about this next week when Rochelle puts her votes in, because everything in here is still really close. So I just about guarantee whatever she votes for is going to shake it up again.
So we're also curious if anyone here in the chat right now is affected by these postponed KISS shows, or anyone watching. You know, we want to hear from you. Please leave a comment. Let us know if any the shows that you were planning on going to were affected, and what your plan is. Do you just expect to wait it out to see if it's rescheduled, or are you just going to try to get a refund at some point? We're definitely curious to hear. Because like I say, our show was supposed to happen last night. I know. We both know so many people that were supposed to go, so I'm kind of curious as to what they're going to do as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Seeing a few shakeups already.
What the hell? How'd my cat get here? She's scratching on my mantle there with no front claws. Whatever you want to call that thing.
Yeah.
Dresser. Brandon says he was thinking about buying tickets for the Salt Lake show, but guess he'll wait and see. Yeah, I don't blame you. Well, when is the Salt Lake show scheduled, Brandon? I definitely don't blame you though, because it just seems like such a risk anymore. Not only with everything that's going on, but because of everything going on, like, could it end up postponing the tour altogether again? Who knows, man?
Right. Really is hard to say with this, because now, what's to stop Tommy or Eric or any of the other crew members from testing positive, because, they were probably all together while Paul technically had it, but none of them knew.
Right.
Just got it here. Okay.
Here you go. It's going to just like jump on my head and attack me during the middle of the show.
Whoops, put that in the wrong box.
September 22nd or something like that. Yeah, again, man, I don't blame you. Just kind of wait it out, I guess,
Right. Okay, so our average overall went down just a little bit, 6.3 average overall. I think it was 6.5. There were a few shakeups. I'll just run through the whole thing just real quick, because I'm sure most of us probably don't remember what the rankings were anyway.
Right.
14 in last place, Save Me From You. 13, I Do. In 12th place, Baby, I Need Your Lovin'. 11th place, Let's Stay Together. 10th place, La La Means I Love You. 9th place, You Are Everything. 8th place, The Tracks of My Tears. 7th place, Just My Imagination. In 6th place, Whenever You're Ready, I'm Here. In 5th place, IOI. 4th place, Ooh Baby Baby. 3rd place, Lorelei. 2nd place, Could It Be I'm Falling in Love. And in 1st place, Ooh Child.
All right.
So quite a few shakeups there, even in the top 4. I think Ooh Child was still number 1, but I think 2, 3, and 4, I'm pretty sure all 4 of those changed.
Definitely.
Nice. Cool. So yeah, we'll probably talk about that real quick at the beginning of next week's episodes too. If Rochelle gets her votes in, we can count those. And any of you guys too, if any of you want to submit votes for that album that we were just talking about, Paul Stanley Soul Station.
Yeah.
If you put in votes for every song on the album, order them favorite to worst, and then give us an overall ranking if you want to. We'll put yours in too. No problem. Doesn't have to be on the day we do the episode. We'll put them all in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we've said it before, and not to harp on it, but that goes for every episode. Like the whole Kiss discography, you can go back to the episode we did the first album and put your rankings in for that if you haven't. Anything that you want, we are going to welcome more rankings to see if it changes the overall ranking and, of course, the top 4 songs.
Yep. Yep. I think we've been talking for a long time. There's a pretty big Kiss Expo that usually happens near us in Indianapolis. And, of course, it didn't happen last year. It didn't happen this year because of all this COVID stuff going on. But whenever they start doing that again, I think we're going to try and get out there. We may even try and get a booth. Boy, that would be super awesome. And that's going to be one of the things we do in our booths. We'll have papers with the albums, and we'll try and get as many rankings as possible.
Yes.
Just hundreds of Kiss fans in there that I'm sure would be interested in giving their opinions on stuff like that.
Yeah, and we're hoping and praying that the expo comes back, I guess, next year, and because there's friends from the expo that we haven't seen now in a couple of years that we usually see there, and we're hoping to do a bit of a meetup with some of you guys that that we've been talking to, and it would it's such a fun experience. If you guys haven't been to a KISS Expo period, let alone the Indianapolis Expo, I feel like it's the next best thing to the cruise. There's that family atmosphere. We're all there for the same reason. You can just start talking to a random stranger out of the blue, and you just, it's like you can immediately hit it off with that person because, you guys just, you share that love and that, that same bond, with the KISS thing. It's just like one big family. It's such a cool feeling. So yeah, unfortunately, it's been 2 years now without the expo, and I'm definitely hoping it comes back. And because thankfully all the other like horror expos and things like that, those have come back this year, and so fingers crossed. And if they surprise us and maybe do it in the fall instead of the normal time frame, but if not, let's hope that come next year it'll be back. For sure.
Absolutely.
Ronnie says they should play a show on the anniversary of the first show in 2023. I believe it was January. Yeah, I think it was January something 73. Yeah, the way it sounds, and Ronnie might have been the one that said it earlier. It sounds like the tour may end up running into 2023 now at this point. I mean, my God, it's just never ending at this point. But
right.
As long as if they're able to do it, that's all I'm worried about. I'm starting to get to that point where I worry if they can even make it, physically, and where their bodies hold up and all that stuff, and exhaustion and everything. So,
right.
Let's just hope. So. All right, so let's get into the fun of this week's show. So again, ranking all the 70s albums, 14 in total. We're ranking them least to best. And then not only that, we are picking our one favorite song of the entire 70s catalog, and then our least favorite song of the entire 70s catalog. So very, very tough there, but I think we can do it. And we definitely want to hear your guys' opinions in the chat. We want to see some comments left afterwards, and we want to get all your input on these as well. So, Luke, what did you rank as your least favorite album?
I think this probably won't come as a big surprise to anybody who's been a longtime viewer of the show, specifically when we did the album discography reviews the first time around. My number 14 is very solidly double platinum.
I agree. I match you there.
Yes. One thing that KISS does too much, and I even brought this up earlier in this episode, I personally think that when they put out a greatest hits, quit messing with it. Yep. Quit remixing stuff. Quit tacking songs onto each other that don't make sense. I still don't get the Rock Bottom She thing. I don't know. It just I can't. I prefer the album version of every single song on there.
Absolutely.
Nice. I'm gonna get Brandon a spot in here too, so that I can keep track of his as well.
Nice. So yeah, double platinum. First of all, for me, it's obviously a big compilation album. So to me, that kind of, in a way, eliminates it for me in this whole thing. I know double platinum actually does hold a special place for a lot of fans because we found out just doing this show that was actually the first album that a lot of people got as a KISS fan, which I know it caught me off guard. I always assumed something like Destroyer or Live 2, but we heard double platinum so many times as kind of the gateway into KISS, and it has some highlights. I'm definitely a fan of the redone version of Dr. Love on there. I like that version just as much as the regular album version. Strutter 78, it's kind of cool. I definitely don't listen to it that much. And of course, my favorite version of Detroit Rock City is on that compilation because it just kicks right into the beginning of the song, as we've talked about so many times. But so yeah, definitely some highlights there, and I always loved the packaging of it too. I mean, shiny metallic album cover, and you open it up and it has those images of the band, and we've heard stories of people that I guess they used to trace over those to try to see what maybe they look like without the makeup, by doing that. So cool stuff there. And of course it came with that cool insert with the little platinum award type thing there. That was kind of a neat little extra that came with it. So yeah, double platinum comes in last for both of us. So what did you rank as your number 13 then?
13 for me is Alive 2.
Mm.
Another thing mentioned several times on the podcast throughout the years is just not a big fan of live albums, especially the first two Alives. I feel like the production quality really falls short. I really wish that they would have done a new studio album instead of having side 4 be studio tracks. It's just a personal preference. I wish that it was one or the other. Make it a live album or make it a studio album. I think the songs on side 4 of Alive 2 suffered for the fact, at least some of them, that they didn't get the attention that they would have had they been on a regular studio album. I think All American Man and Rocket Ride are good, but the rest are take them or leave them. And then again, just the production quality of Alive 2 doesn't personally strike me right.
Probably surprised Detroit Rock City didn't have the crash at the end. Yeah.
Very good point.
Yep. That's another thing I kind of like about it too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the way that goes into King of the Nighttime World on the album, but I think it's a good thing that they did it this way on that, because it would have kind of felt too sudden to have that ending, but then it just goes into a different song. Chicken double platinum number 13. Can you give us your number 14 also, please? I don't think we got that one. All right, so my number 13 is the Paul Stanley solo album. As I've said before, not my favorite. Oh, there we go. 14, Hotter Than Hell from Chicken. Thank you.
Nice. It's got it in there.
So yes, Paul, definitely my least favorite of the 4 solo albums. And I'll just say it now, like I said before, when it comes to those solo albums, I really wish they just would not have done those. And again, like you were saying with the Alive 2 situation, rather we would have just had a new studio album, continuing on that momentum that they left off with, from Love Gun and everything. Good songs. Some, my standouts are, Tonight You Belong to Me, Move On. I became familiar with Move On from watching the Kiss My Ass tape all the time, and they always showed that clip from that Largo show of them doing that. It's All Right. That's a cool song. Wouldn't You Like to Know Me? That's one that's definitely grown on me a lot too. But those, other than those, like, there's not too many other songs I really care to listen to that often.
Agreed. Thomas, good to see you in the live chat.
What's up? Thomas, if you need caught up real quick, what we're doing is we're taking all the 70s albums, 14 of them. We're ranking them from our least favorite to favorite. So we just pretty much got started. We're on number 13. So feel free to chime in, give us your number 14 and 13, and then we'll go from there. Love in Chains, it's okay. That's another one that I would listen to on that album. But other than that, those are probably the last go-to songs that I would put on if I didn't just play the album as a whole, which honestly I don't really think I ever do unless we're ranking or reviewing the whole album for this show. But I'll definitely put on a couple songs every now and then. And Tonight You Belong to Me, we've kind of started messing with that in the tribute band, so it's kind of a fun song to play. I am enjoying that myself on a side note. But, all right. Tell us, Luke, what is your number 12?
12. All right. I don't think it'll be a big surprise again. Just kind of coming right off the heels of the last one. My number 12 is Alive, the first one.
Okay.
Again, just personally not a fan of live recordings as opposed to studio recordings. The production, I feel like the production of the first Alive is better than Alive 2, which is why it's above that for me. Again, also, it makes its decision. It is decidedly a live album. It is not both. But I just prefer all of the studio versions better. So.
Definitely. Thank you, Thomas. Be number 14 there. Whoa, let's see. Number 12, double platinum for Brandon. Gene is number 12 for Chicken.
Nice.
Wouldn't You Like to Know Me sounds like a Rick Springfield song. All right. My number 12 is the Peter Criss solo. And great album in general. I think we've established that enough on the show at this point. It's not an album that we dislike. I know that always seems to be the go-to feeling when someone brings up the album is, oh, how bad are they gonna crap on it? That kind of thing. But no, it's not a bad album. It really isn't. It's like I said, it's perfect. It's perfect Peter jazz stuff. I wish he would put out another album today that's similar to this, if not even more on the side of the standard stuff. But so cool. I Can't Stop the Rain. Fantastic song. Easy Thing. So great ballad. I mean, there's songs on here, and I can't remember if I said it when we did this episode, but there's songs on here that I feel like could pretty much rival Beth, and maybe even Hard Luck Woman for that matter, as far as the type of ballad that it is. Thomas is 12. Cool. Thanks, Thomas. You are caught up now. Right there with us now.
Yes.
So Peter Criss, number 12 for me. What is your number 11, everyone?
Yes, for me, Gene solo album, my personal least favorite of the four. And we've talked about this a lot in the episodes with that. Still lots of good songs. Radioactive, I think, is near perfect, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Great song. Could have been on a Kiss album, but it sounds fine the way it isn't. Not a big fan of the See You in Your Dreams on that album.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels really like it bounces too far off each wall. A lot of good songs, but just the collective doesn't strike me as well as any of the other solo albums did.
Wow.
Nice.
Bit of a shock here. Brandon's number 11 is the first album.
Nice.
And then
boy, I'm getting behind. I need to catch up here.
Hey, we love it, guys. That's what we wanted. So
yes.
Keep me coming. So my number 11 is the Ace Frehley solo album. You may see a theme here. Don't get me wrong. Amazing album. Front to back. It's definitely a listenable album from beginning to end. There really isn't any songs on here that I don't really, choose to listen to, like with Paul's. Just some of the favorites, of course, Rip It Out, Snowblind, Speeding Back My Baby, New York Groove, Fractured Mirror. I mean, Ozone, that's the one that really, really became a favorite, especially when we did the album this time. That song has just really grown on me over the last couple of years too. And yeah, I mean, it's such a powerful album, but I just got to put it down at this level because of it being the solo and not the true Kiss as a group album, and go from there.
Absolutely.
Number 10.
Number 10 for me is the Peter solo album. Again, this really just comes down to when you put it in comparison with the other albums. You know what I mean? We talk so much praise about Peter's solo album, and all of it's absolutely true. I put Peter's album above Gene's because unlike Gene's, it doesn't feel like it jumps back and forth between stuff, like it can't quite decide what it is. Peter's album is what it is, and it does what it does really good. It doesn't do Kiss very well, but it does what it does very well. And so as long as you're in the mood and you like that style of music anyway, I think Peter's album is a great listen.
Brandon, Hotter Than Hell, number 10. Chicken, Alive 2. So my number 10, if you can't figure out, is the Gene solo album. I don't know what it is. I've just always loved this album since I was a kid. I think the big, the first thing, of course, that always attracted me to it was, of course, the cover. I mean, that picture, it used to kind of creep me out when I was a little kid. I remember my dad had his records in his closet, and I'd be flipping through them trying to find the Kiss ones. And every time I got to that record, it would kind of, like, whoa, like that picture, man. It was just so intimidating back then. And, like you were saying earlier, Radioactive, my God, I can't get enough of that song. The first 3 tracks, Burning Up a Fever, See You Tonight, those 3 to me are just one of the best, like, three song openers to any album I've heard in a long time. It's just, and then of course other songs like True Confessions have become absolute favorites lately. Love True Confessions. I agree, not a fan of the See You in Your Dreams. Also not a big fan of the Rock and Roll Over version. But Wish Upon a Star, it's weird, but it also kind of fits Gene and, his whole childhood dream that he grew up with. And I know I said it on the episode, but a big reason that I like Gene's album too is it just feels like he took more chances and wasn't afraid to experiment with the different stuff. Because Radioactive, the way the album starts out, you think, okay, this is what we expect in the Gene album, but then it goes in to a fairly poppy Christine 16 type song, which is great, and then the other stuff on the album is just kind of like, you're not expecting that. You're just expecting an album, full of God of Thunder and stuff like that. And I think that's one of the things that makes it cool. And not to mention, to not forget to mention, regarding the solo albums, of course, we all know and love the posters that came with them. How I'm sure everybody at one point hung all 4 posters on their walls. Maybe you still have them on your wall right now. How they all fit together like a giant puzzle. That was always a cool little thing. In my opinion, whatever the feelings I have about the solo albums, I feel like those posters are probably one of the best, if not the best, inserts that ever came with any of the Kiss records. The way they look, the way they go together. Very, very, very cool idea. Each of them had their own individual merchandise sheet. So, I mean, there you go. They just took advantage of it. Chicken was scared of Eminem's Just Lose It video. And Gene Simmons solo album, yep. Wow. To be when you were younger and scared of Eminem's Just Lose It video, you're making me feel pretty old here. How old are we talking? My gosh. Gene's solo album is his favorite of the four as well. Robbie, there you go. Agree on something. All right, so now we're out of the 10. Let's get down to number 9.
Number 9 for me is Paul's solo album. Can't help but just group all of the solo albums together here. I couldn't agree more with your earlier statement about wishing they had just come together and made another album as strong as Love Gun. I think if you take the stronger songs off all 4 solo albums, you have one at least as strong as Love Gun. But yeah, Paul's is really solid. The ones that are good are really good. He has a lot that are like Radioactive that are just really, really solid on there. Like Live to Win and Soul Station, there are a lot of songs on there that are good, just not special. You know what I mean? Stuff that's not even really that memorable. Take Me Away Together is one. Couldn't hum that to you right now.
Yeah.
I know that I don't hate it, but I don't know how it goes either. So you know what I mean? So I've always liked Paul's album for the fact that it sounds a lot like it could have been Kiss stuff. But it still falls short of any other Kiss solo album, I think.
Yeah, and I forgot and kind of purposely didn't mention Hold Me, Touch Me.
Yeah, God, yeah, I can still vividly recall the first time I heard that song, listening through that whole album and being like, what is this? It took me a long time to warm up even a little bit to that.
Tell us the truth. You were sitting on the toilet the first time you heard it.
Oh yeah, that's what it was.
And it helped relieve your irritable bowels.
Yes.
Ronnie says the I Love It Loud video was scary if you were a little kid. Gene rolling his eyes back in his head. Wicked, yes. I do remember being a bit intimidated by that too, man. That's one thing I love about that video. And we talked about Gene in the Creatures era, how he just seemed like he was so full of piss and vinegar, and he was just extra mean and demon like. And to kind of jump off subject just a second, on top of that, the Ozzy Bark at the Moon video I was scared to death of as a little kid, seeing him as that werewolf. And I'd be laying there and it would come on the TV and I would literally like hide my eyes because it just freaked me out.
Yes.
Okay, my number 9 is Dynasty. So the last of the 70s albums here. And, honestly, probably the most different album of the 70s. Obviously, they took a different direction here with the sound. And, I know there's that back and forth. Oh, it's the disco album, but to me, it's not. Just, the one song kind of is. I love it loud, yeah. I'm Paulie.
You are, yeah.
I was made for loving you. But again, I'll say this much. Like I said before, this is one of the albums that grew on me so much. Both times that we've covered it on the show, I now love this album from beginning to end. There was a time where I used to only listen to like probably 3 songs off the album, and that was it. Didn't care about any of the rest, but now from beginning to end, I truly love this album. So good. I love the production of it. Love the Ace songs especially. And again, another cool poster that came with it. Everyone had this poster hanging too. And just so many great songs. The 2000 Man, Sure Know Something, Hard Times, Charisma. All that kind of stuff. Just everything on here is great. Robbie said Eddie Trunk is always raving about Paul's solo album, that it's possibly one of the Kiss albums in the catalog. He totally disagrees, or he says one of the best in the catalog. I gotta agree with you there, Robbie. I don't think it's one of the best in the catalog for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now I will say, I'll go as far as saying compared to Live to Win, and I guess you can. I guess you could put Soul Station in there. I will say it's probably better than those two. I'll at least give it that much.
It's at least more Kiss-like than either
Yeah.
of those.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right, number 8.
Yep. 8 for me is last of the solo albums, knocking those out. Ace. It took me a long time to warm up to this album, which is a little bit opposite most Kiss fans. Again, as most longtime viewers of this show probably know, I've never been the Ace fangirl that it seems like most Kiss fans are. I don't care for his singing very much, and I like his guitar playing in this era, but especially the later years, Reunion and on, just garbage, just absolute garbage. And so it's always kind of pitted me against Ace just generally, but it's hard to deny these songs. You know what I mean? Every song on there is killer, except for Wiped Out. Sorry, Steve. Yeah, and Fractured Mirror, one of my favorite instrumental songs of all time.
Whoa.
You can't objectively call that a bad album, I think. If it doesn't suit your personal taste, that's fine. But when you put Ace's solo album up against most of the other albums in the Kiss discography, especially this era, you can't call it a bad album. You just can't.
And by the way, like I know we said it on the episode, if you guys haven't heard that version of Fractured Mirror that Dimebag Darrell did, please do yourself a favor. Go pull it up on YouTube right now. Close us or open another tab, whatever you gotta do, or do it after the show. If you have not heard it, you've got to hear it. That version Dimebag did was amazing.
Yeah. Who was it that did that version of Ozone? That on that one Ace Frehley thing that we reviewed one time, because that version of Ozone was crazy good.
Oh, yeah. Let me look real quick here.
I don't know if it was a band or if it was just a super group collection of musicians, but I didn't really like that song until we heard that version, and then now even Ace's original version I like.
Is that that was Dime also, wasn't it? Ozone.
Was it? It could be.
I believe so, yeah. What is it now? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was Dime also.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so, excuse me, my number 8, finally kind of mixing it up here, getting out of that late 70s hole that I was in at the beginning, but my number 8 is Hotter Than Hell. Mainly it comes down to to beat a dead horse, the overall sound of it, the mastering, nothing we don't all know, but thinking of the album version of Coming Home, like that literally like was crossing my mind as being my least favorite song of the 70s. Like, I'm just not a big fan of that version. It just sounds so sloppy. And I feel like that's the worst sounding production of all the songs on the album. But, I mean, Hotter Than Hell, I mean, yeah, obviously it's a great album. It's one of those I used to listen to way more when I was younger. It's another one of my favorite Kiss albums as far as I can listen to the entire thing, no problem, no questions asked, very easy to do. There's at least a handful or more Kiss albums in the catalog that I can at least say that I can easily sit and listen to the whole things, no problem. Never gets old to do that, and this is definitely one of them. I mean, got to choose Parasite, the title track, Hotter Than Hell. And for those that maybe never heard the quick story, I'll tell it real quick. Cliff Notes version. A special place that this album always held with me, because when I was a little kid, I don't even know, I was probably like maybe 4 years old or something. Upstairs listening to Hotter Than Hell. I'm singing my butt off to it, loud, singing the chorus, and my parents hear me and they come up and take the record away because they didn't like me saying the word hell. And they took it away, and it felt like it was at least a week that they took it away, but it could have been shorter now that I think about it. Who knows? But needless to say, the next time I put it on and was singing to it, I sang a lot quieter. And so that was always a special memory I have with this album and associating it. So let's see. Robbie says, "Coming home, where's the hi-hat? Horrible drum." Yes. Amen.
Yeah.
That is the biggest problem there.
Yeah. That song just didn't fit that production style, if you could even call it a production style. You know, I know a lot of people say that the heavier songs on the album actually kind of benefited from that. And I don't know if I feel the same way, but if you take that line of thought, then yeah, Coming Home isn't one of the heavy songs.
No.
So that production did it no favors.
Yeah, it literally sounded like it was just another thrown together song, and they didn't bother setting up as many mics or whatever they did for everything else, and just kind of like, here, we'll set up one room mic and just play the song, and we'll record it that way.
Yeah.
And Peter, don't even bother bringing your hi-hat because you're not going to hear it anyway.
Yeah, no, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, bro.
HE double hockey sticks. Yeah, there you go, chicken.
Yes.
That's what I should have been singing. Hotter than HE double hockey sticks.
Yes.
Number 7.
Ooh, number 7 for me is Rock and Roll Over, and this is the biggest album for me that I struggle with where to place on the spectrum. This is one of the worst productions for me personally in the 70s. Not that it's worse than Hotter Than Hell so much as it's disappointing, I think, coming off the heels of Destroyer. Now, I don't dislike how dry it is. It's not that. I just don't feel like it sounds that good. The bass drum gets lost, and a lot of times the drums just don't straight up sound very good. It's a sound that I'm glad that they made it a little bit better when they went on to Love Gun. I'm glad they were working with Eddie Kramer because I think that was the right move. And Dressed to Kill, super dry production and one of my favorite productions. So again, it's not that it's dry, but I can't justify putting this one any lower than this, and I hate even that I put it this low because you can't deny that track listing.
Yeah.
The songs on that album they were so on fire as far as songwriting went at this time. So, you know, again, I think I'm just so consistently disappointed that it wasn't a little clearer and you couldn't hear stuff a little bit better on that album.
Right. Number 7 for me is Dressed to Kill. And another one on the list of albums that I love from beginning to end. Probably the shortest album in the entire catalog, for that matter. You started at song 1, within 20 minutes you're already done. Yeah, I agree. I've always enjoyed the sound of this record too. I really feel like it still holds up to today's stuff that you hear. Like it's amazing to think that something that's what is it? It's almost 50 years old here in a few years, still just sounds so crisp and fresh today to the ears. And again, like I've said it before, that's one reason I don't consider Kiss in that classic rock category, is listening to other bands where it's like, oh yeah, that's classic rock, but just something about the Kiss sound, to me, I never put it in that category. What, do you not agree? My cat is disagreeing with me. So anyway, yeah, I mean, Dressed to Kill, obviously, Rock and Roll All Night. There, you know, I've said so many times how much I love the studio version, and of course, it, you know, definitely ties in with the love for Kiss Meets the Phantom, which is kind of the one reason I love that version so much. And, yeah, I can't help but think about that intro every time I hear that version of the song. And you know, She, Rock Bottom, you know, and then kind of the sleeper somewhat sleeper songs like Room Service Two Timer, those great songs to Getaway. You know, Come On and Love Me. God, one of the greatest, just good upbeat, good. Makes you another one that kind of makes you feel good. Just good up tempo song. Um, yeah, so another one that, like I said, beginning to end, I can listen to it all day, over and over. Yeah, it is a great album. What's this? Kitty Kid.
Kitties.
All right. Number 6.
Number 6 is Hotter Than Hell for me, coming on the toes of Rock and Roll Over, mostly just because of the production. Again, the production is, I mean, pretty obviously subpar on this album. But this time, I feel like there's two reasons why the production doesn't get on my nerves at least as much as Rock and Roll Over does. And one is the songs. Again, just that track listing, you can't get past all of those songs. They're so classic. But maybe even more than that for me is the fact that we're still in the classic phase of the band. You know what I mean? We're still in during Hotter Than Hell. We're still in the period where it's all four of them equally contributing. Equally, it's not any studio musicians. It's really the four of them. Which is something that I really value about Sonic Boom and Monster when we talk about those albums. The fact that you can hear it's just these four guys doing what they do. And so for that, Hotter Than Hell still kind of stands above. But yeah, the production is... I don't even know that I really agree necessarily with the people that say that the production fits the heaviness. Just not my personal taste, but I think it would have still been good with the production of the first album.
Exactly. And you listen to the songs from this album that they did the original demos to. Those songs sound even more heavy and gritty on the demos because that was how they truly needed to sound. Eddie Kramer did a great job with those demos.
Yeah.
Makes me want to listen to those now because I feel like I haven't listened to those original demos in a long time.
For sure.
My number 6 is the first Alive. For me, it's like, speaking from a drummer standpoint, I know I speak for hundreds, if not thousands, of other drummers out there. Whether they're well known or not, this album was a big reason that we became drummers. It was one of those albums that we loved to learn and drum along to, especially 100,000 Years with the solo part. I mean, pretty much any interview you watch with most drummers, and they ask them, what were some of your early influences? It's usually this album that gets brought up a lot. For being the live type album, yeah, I know it's kind of not fair to rank it up this high with the other studio stuff, but for me, it's just a little too special, and and of course the live version of Deuce, bar none. Like I mentioned, 100,000 Years, so many cool moments. The live version of Rock and Roll All Night, I mean, that basically saved the band. So I mean, give or take. And I used to love opening up that gatefold, reading those little notes that were written by each band member. You felt like they were really had written that note just to you or something somehow. And then you read Gene's note, and of course you're like, oh my God, he's coming to get me when I'm sleeping. Oh shit. Yeah, I mean, that's mainly the reason the live ranked this high for me, is just the importance of myself and so many other drummers. And I'm sure it goes that way for guitar players too, but I know drummers especially, this was one of those anchor albums that either got you into drumming or really got you working on your chops. And a lot of us probably wouldn't be where we're at if it weren't for this album and the stuff Peter did on this album, and especially during his drum solo.
For sure.
Robbie says Making Love had a squeaky kick drum pedal on the original album. The remastered CDs cleaned it up pretty well. I've never caught that, man. That's interesting that you said that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh yes, Thomas. You started with 15 instead of 14, so just skip a number. I gotcha. I've been keeping track.
Too. All right, so now we are getting into our top 5 here.
Yes, top 5. Number 5 for me is Dynasty. This is one kind of like what you said when you talked about this that grew on me a lot. I remember when I heard this one when I was young, being really disappointed by it, and not really sure why, honestly. Coming back to it later, I love all the songs. This is hands down the best production of the 70s albums, combining the dry tone of the early stuff with the at least a touch of the big production from Destroyer and marrying the two really well. Really, again, just the songs are amazing. Now you've got a lot more inclusion from Ace, which is nice to hear. Peter's song on there, Dirty Livin', is one of his best, I think. So yeah, just a great album all in all. And again, just for me, production plays into it so much that I couldn't help but put this one high just because of how good it sounds.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it used to always be such a battle for me when I was younger, when I talked about how I used to only like a few songs, because it's like the album cover is amazing. Like, I always loved that picture, and I always would look at that album, and I'm like, I would always so badly be like, I want to love this whole album, but I can't. Like, I don't. And it took all those years for the rest of the album to grow on me, and it's, I don't know. Again, it is kind of an amazing thing how that works. How music kind of grows on you after it's something that you've been listening to for 20 some years, but then all of a sudden you start actually loving it and appreciating it, than what you did before it. It's crazy how that happens, but that's I guess that's one of the things to love about music. It just the way it makes you feel, and the different emotions that it invokes, and it just catches you off guard. One day you hear a song or a part of that song, and all of a sudden it catches you different than it ever did all the other 100 times you heard it, and you're like, I love this now.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's see. So my number 5 is the first album, Kiss. Yeah, I could still remember this being kind of the official entryway for me. I mean, even though, like I had told the story, by the time I was a full-blown Kiss fan, it was probably the Animalize era, because we had the concert on MTV. My dad taped it, and I would watch that thing religiously. And so then I remember him like basically sitting me down and be like, okay, well, here, go back, and here's what these guys used to look like, and hear what they sound like, all that stuff. And it's like I almost have this memory, and it's crazy because, again, I had to have only been like 4 years old. Like, I can almost remember my dad like handing me that first album almost like it was like the Holy Grail or something, and it's like that moment of it coming into my hands and looking at it the first time, that cover, like, whoa, what is this? And just couldn't wait to listen. And yeah, and for the most part, I was so used to the Alive versions of things that when I did hear a lot of the studio versions the first time, it threw me off, like Deuce especially, because it sounded slower, and there was like little extra like strumming patterns that you could hear that you don't really hear on the Alive version, things like that. And I was kind of like, what? This is the same song? Yeah, it's just that's another one that album cover is just so it's so classic. I mean, it's just another album cover that I never get tired of looking at. It's such an iconic picture. I love that all those outtakes from the photo session came out finally after all those years, and because I used to always wonder, like, oh, I wonder what that was like, and all that stuff, and the story of Ace spraying his hair with the silver spray paint, all that good stuff. But yeah, I mean, and of course, this is another one that from beginning to end, loved the whole thing. Love theme from Kiss, Kissing Time. Yeah, maybe not my favorite Kiss songs, but listening to it on the album, no problem with them at all. Totally fine. I can listen to the whole album. I never skip songs on the album if I'm listening to that one. So just just a fantastic debut. Robbie says Vinny Poncia produced some of Ringo Starr's solo albums, and they sound similar to Dynasty.
Dude knew what he was doing.
Yeah. Wonder which
it's
ones.
Too bad. Yeah, I have to look up that. It's too bad that Unmasked doesn't also sound like Dynasty.
Yeah. Did he happen to produce the album that has the No song, if you know by chance? Because that one, I like that song, and it kind of has that similar production sound to it.
Nice.
All right. Sorry to be so long-winded with a lot of these here, but moving into our top 4 now. So what do you have?
Number 4 for me is Love Gun. I still think arguably peak Kiss 70s popularity-wise. I still think they were on fire. The songs that they wrote on Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, and Love Gun are all absolutely top-notch. Not a dull moment. Even the fact that I don't specifically care for Then She Kissed Me that much is saved and then some by the guitar solo. And it is catchy. I get that riff in my head all the time. Yeah. So yeah, the song Love Gun, I think, is arguably one of Kiss's greatest songs of all time. Of course, you've got Shock Me on there, which is crazy cool song from Ace, and a song that his lead vocals do fit over very well. So it just personifies him to me, that song. So yeah, let's just always go to that Love Gun. Not my favorite Kiss production, but still good. It improved on the things that I didn't like about Rock and Roll Over, just for me personally.
Very cool. My number 4 is Alive 2. And, it was always the opposite appeal for me with this album, as Alive 1 was so detrimental to the drumming and everything. This one, I was always so attracted to the guitar. Ace, I mean, his tone on this album, I've just always been, it's just been so infectious to me. And I love all the little where you hear the notes where his rings are hitting the strings and whatnot, causing these little like squeals and whatnot. And to me, that's just always been so cool. And it got me to a point where I actually like wanted to start playing guitar because of that album. Like, I got to a point when when I was like, I don't want to play drums anymore. I want to learn guitar. And I would sit there and just like play along to it, at least trying to make it sound as close as I could to what it was. But of course, I never knew exactly what I was doing. But hey, I was down there trying to be Ace, man. And I've always loved the different sonic qualities of this versus a live one. It just, to me, it feels more like a true live, and you can just feel that energy. And I remember my aunt down in Texas making a copy of it on cassette for me when I was little, and I would just play that to death too until it quit working. But major standouts on here: Making Love, top notch. Love that I love Making Love. The song Making Love. I love both versions, don't get me wrong, but this version on Live 2 to me is just miles above the other one. It's just that energy to it. Of course, the live version of Detroit Rock City, Nighttime World, I Stole Your Love, Bam, which was technically the opener anyway on that tour. I wish they kind of would have sequenced it that way. God, yeah, just so much great stuff. And wasn't a big fan of the drum solo on that album, to be honest, because it just felt like it was cut too short. There wasn't nothing too flashy about it compared to the Alive one. And it felt like Ace kind of got the rightful spotlight on his solo for Shock Me, which that's one of the greatest solos too. I mean, so many guitar players have mimicked that solo, and I used to try to mimic that solo. And then as far as, those newer songs, yeah, there's some great ones on there. All American Man, all that kind of Large and Live, Rocket Ride especially. That such a good song. Wish they would have performed it live during that era, especially.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been amazing. But well, thanks, Robbie. He's knocked them all out.
Yeah, I got it all.
So yeah, that's my long-winded answer and why I love Alive 2 so much. So my number 4. And again, those pictures on the cover, my God, that picture of Gene has just always been amazing. And then if there ain't one person that don't know that gatefold, and there's so many people you talk to, the first time they ever saw that picture when you open up that gatefold, just what it makes you feel, and you try to picture being there and all that stuff at the time. And I mean, my God, I can't really think of a more iconic gatefold to any album out there. I mean, to be honest, wow, just great stuff.
Yeah.
So now,
before this room behind me was covered in foam, it used to be covered in Kiss posters. Yeah, I had a big old, right behind this the door that you can see over here was that whole thing. You could see it was a big poster of the Alive 2 gatefold, and then it had at the bottom, I think it was a picture of them standing up on those weird little glass things, plastic things. And then right over here on this wall over here, I had the Dynasty poster. I mean, the whole place was just covered.
Oh, man.
I always remember those pictures from those.
I kept forgetting to say, you did surprise me a while back on yours, because I was thinking Rock and Roll Over was going to be your number 1. So you did shock me, no pun intended.
Aha!
Quite a ways back.
Nice.
So now, if this hasn't been tough enough, we are now in the top 3. So what is our top 3 favorite albums, and what are your top 3 favorite albums?
Yes, number 3 for me is Dressed to Kill. I cannot deny that production. I love the production on Dressed to Kill. It is so squeaky clean. It is dry in all the right ways. You can hear everything super clear. Again, this might be the best example of the original albums before they started getting crazy with studio musicians and stuff, where you can just hear Kiss. Just the 4 original guys doing what they did in a room, just playing the songs. And I absolutely love that we were still able to get such crazy good quality and maintain that. And I like all the songs. I feel like some of these are sleeper songs. You know what I mean? Fans don't often talk about Rock Bottom, for example, for some reason, which is weird. It's there. The original version of Rock and Roll All Night on there, like you said, Room Service and Two Timer are both great. Getaway is a great Peter song. I'm just rehashing the same songs you brought up, essentially. But yeah,
Rightfully so.
I love this album. Yeah. I love this album. I love its production. I love the songs, and I love the feel of it.
I always loved, like, during the reunion tour, that Ace would start using a double neck guitar for Rock Bottom. It's like all those years, until the reunion tour, he just, finally started using it. I always thought that was so cool and different.
Yeah.
Number 3 for me is Rock and Roll Over. Like basically what you were saying. I mean, I do agree it's not the best sounding quality album, but I've always enjoyed it. It's to me, it's kind of the last one that has the elements of that kind of gritty rock, straight rock that those first three albums especially had before things got a little too kind of commercially. Um, even the album before and a little bit after, but it was like they still kind of tapped into that vein on this album, and again another one that beginning to end, bam, no problem, love it. I want you to take me, Dr. Love, Ladies Room, love Ladies Room. I just mentioned Making Love a little bit ago. Hard Luck Woman, Amazing Peter, everything on the album. Again, not being a big fan of See You in Your Dreams, but listen to it as a whole, no issues there. Such a killer album. Robbie says Poncia produced the later '70s Ringo albums, but he actually sings harmonies on No Song. That's pretty cool.
Nice. Nice. I'm gonna go pee real quick. I'm trying to hold it, but I'm not succeeding.
Yeah. Appreciate that info there, Robbie. Rock and Roll Lover has very good songs, but they all end the same way. Fade outs. Yeah, pretty much. I do like the studio ending of Making Love. That is different from Alive 2, the way after the big roll, it goes back to the you guys know, and that effect that they throw on the drums, the way he's doing that. I do like that difference from what they did on Alive 2. That's one thing I always love too about a lot of the live versions versus studio versions is how they came up with these different sections or different endings for some of the songs. I always enjoyed that about Kiss, and to this day they're still doing things like that. If you guys have seen footage of the recent tour, where they now do the drum solo in the middle of Psycho Circus of all songs, and then instead of finishing Psycho Circus, they go into the 100,000 Years ending and then finish 100,000 Years. Luke and his Mountain Dew pee breaks.
I see what you actually. It's weird. I think I've been peeing a lot more than normal because literally for the first time in my life I've kicked pop.
Wow.
I mean I spent my entire teens and 20s drinking literally nothing but that. I mean, if you saw anything in my hands for the last like 20 years that wasn't some sort of soda, it was worth like, what's wrong with you? That sort of a reaction. So yeah, I've been finally on water only for the last maybe 2.5 weeks. So I think my body is thoroughly flushing.
There you go. I was talking about how, like the ending of Making Love on Rock and Roll Over versus the way it ends on the Live 2, how I love the differences. And that's one thing I've always loved about Kiss is how a lot of those live versions of songs, how they would come up with those different parts or sections and endings, versus how they did it on the album. I always admired that, and like I was saying, they still do it to this day by doing the drum solo in the middle of Psycho Circus and then ending with the end of 100,000 Years now at the end of that instead of going back into Psycho Circus. Like, so today, even to this day, they're still doing things like that catch me off guard and amaze me.
Absolutely.
Making Love solo on the Live 2 is Ace's best moment. It's definitely up there, man. It's hard to pick that or the Shock Me solo, but I get you, man. I just love everything about that Live 2 version of Making Love, as well as Rock and Roll Over. Yeah, flavored water is a good substitute. I've been trying that a lot myself, but I do still lean on soda, but I've been trying to be more on the no sugar soda side of things, or no caffeine. But so
right,
not the best, but it is a bit better than the straightforward stuff,
That it does.
Keep guzzling. So wow,
I'm almost out.
We are in our top tea.
Tea.
Juice.
Two for me is the debut.
Uh,
There are two albums to me that stand out, and all the '70s albums as far as having the songs. You know what I mean?
mhm.
There are good and classic songs on every single one of these albums, but there are two albums on this list that are basically Kiss greatest hits. Yes, and putting those up against each other is hard,
Yeah.
because they go on completely different merits. At least for me personally, they both have basically a greatest hits worth of songs on their track listings. I put the debut album in at number two, um, just for me because it captures the early days of the band so well. I'm personally a big fan of the big bombastic production type stuff, which is why Destroyer didn't end up in number two. So that's what sets it a little bit above. But the debut album still has a lot of the same elements I talked about. Why I like Dress to Kill. You can hear the four guys, no studio musicians, still four guys desperately trying together to make it in the music industry, and I feel like that spirit comes through in the recording. So you got the good songs, you got that feel good spirit. The production is still crazy good for not only 1974 but a debut album of a band that basically nobody cared about. Um, Still one of my favorites to this day.
Yeah, I mean, there's moments on there where you can hear like, Peter hitting the rim of the drum and things like that. And that's what helps give it its character. It's one of the things I love about that album is, like you said, that rawness that's there and that you know the hunger too. Like we're here to take over the world.
Yeah.
Well, I'm matching with Brandon here. My number two is Destroyer. And I tell you what, for the longest time, this was always my favorite, but it has been eked out over the last couple years. Still love the album, though. I mean, obviously, another one from beginning to end that I absolutely love. And, there's just so many standout moments on here. It's, Detroit, King of the Nighttime World, God of Thunder. I love Great Expectations. I love Flame of You. Sweet Pain is the song that's like really become more loved out of the whole album in the last few years. It used to be a song where, again, I'd listen to it, no problem, but it was always that song where it'd be kind of like, okay, get through this. Oh, here comes the women singing at the end. Let's get to shout it out loud. Well, now it's like, yeah, I love this song. Hell yeah. You know? um, yeah. Do You Love Me? All that stuff. I mean, such a great. And then, of course, another classic album cover. I mean, my God, everyone knows the story on it. And, it's just another great album from beginning to end. And, yeah, number two. Robbie says the debut album was his first album he ever had. That's why it's his favorite of all time. Very cool, man.
Nice.
That's a very good story. I like that. All right. Number one.
Nice. Yeah. So, I mean, pretty obviously at this point, my number one is Destroyer. I'd end up rehashing most of the points you just said, and most of the points that I made about the first album, too. I think this album is basically a Kiss greatest hits album. I think it really was the next step in their career. It was the logical thing to do after Alive if they wanted to consciously move away from the production of the first three albums and do something that felt sonically like it was on a level with their image and their show. I think they made the right choice. I think it was career defining to use Bob Ezrin. I think Bob Ezrin affected them in a way that changed them forever from that moment. I don't think we would have had Rock and Roll Over or Love Gun even without the things that Bob Ezrin showed them and taught them. I also, however, on that same note, feel like Bob Ezrin put in Paul and Gene's mind that they could just grab somebody else that was hanging out at the studio if Ace and Peter wasn't getting them what they want, which may not necessarily have been the best move. That could have played a large hand in the original four splintering the way they did. But But yeah, I love the production of Destroyer. I love the flow of the songs, the track listing. I'm not super big on Great Expectations. It's not. I don't skip it ever, but that's one of those songs for me that's always been a little bit weird. But yeah, I just can't deny that Destroyer checks all of those boxes for me, at least on the '70s albums. Everything that I look for in an album, Destroyer's got it.
Yeah, I do like the demo version of Great Expectations a bit better, and I wish they would have left it that way, where he's singing more about each member, as far as like from the point of view of the fans, or let's say the women watching from the crowd. To me, that's a little bit better of a, because to me it kind of fits that image of the album cover, how they're just so like larger than life, no pun intended, and and just that, like watching them from the stage, how they just look like, so godlike, and the way the stuff he's singing about each member in the demo version versus the way it ended up on the album. Robbie said Sweet Pain is a very underrated tune. Wagner had a cool solo, definitely, but he loves the harmonies even more. Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. Ronnie says, what if Hotter Than Hell had been the debut album with its production? Could it have bombed as a debut album? Something to think about. I've said that.
That's a very good point.
Yeah. I've said that a lot myself. Is like the way Hotter Than Hell sounds to me does sound like it should be the first album, just because of that gritty sound that it has, and it just sounds like it should actually be the first album, and then this, of course, being the second one, which. But in a lot of ways too, you can almost kind of call them both the first, like 1A, 1B, because again, those original demos, I mean, pretty much half the first album and half the Hotter Than Hell are songs from those original demos. So I mean, what if that first album would have been those same songs all together on an album instead of how they were separated too? That's another thing to think about. How that album would have sounded chronologically with those songs.
I've always been curious if the debut album had performed better and they hadn't rushed Hotter Than Hell the way they did. I wonder if it would have sounded better.
Yeah, I think so.
What I mean? Because Richie Wise and Kenny Kerner have both gone on record several times saying that they regret the way Hotter Than Hell sounds. It wasn't an artistic choice. They didn't do that on purpose. They rushed it. They were trying to get the album out quick, and they weren't in their right minds, let's say. So like, yeah, I wonder then if they had been allowed to make Hotter Than Hell, more thought out, and at least give it a month or two instead of trying to make it just in a few days, how would that have affected the sounds? How would that have affected the band? Would we have gotten the same songs arranged and written the same way? Hard to say. I would love to hear a version of Hotter Than Hell that sounds more like the debut album. Same songs. I'm just curious what the first album production would do to it.
Well, supposedly the tapes are gone, right? Is that kind of the excuse why we have never gotten that remaster or anything?
Yeah, I think most of the original master tapes burned up in that fire here a few years back.
Ooh.
Probably a lot of the Kiss catalog is just gone now.
I mean, I know they did that remaster when they put out those CDs back whenever, but still it wasn't a proper remaster or remix or anything.
Right.
But yeah, it's a damn shame. I mean, you would think like somebody somewhere's got like copies of those master tapes hidden somewhere in their basement that they forgot about or something,
Yeah.
Like,
that would be amazing.
Or Bill Aucoin had them in some, storage shed somewhere that no one knew about, and I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, that would be killer to have what we got with Destroyer Resurrected, but with other albums too. That would be so cool.
Yeah. Missing the boat so much. I mean, we've talked a bit too about, like look what Metallica does with their anniversary edition of albums, and the Beatles, and that right there is exactly what Kiss should be doing too. And it's like, what is the reason not to? I mean, come on. There's, look at the kind of inserts and goodies that they would include with just regular studio albums all through the years. That you tell me they can't come up with some amazing things to include in these box sets and whatnot that would just, you know, I just don't understand.
Yeah. Well, if they're looking to hire a couple of idiots to go through everything,
Yeah,
I know a couple of idiots.
yeah. I'll go rummage through that warehouse and we'll put together a hell of a damn box set.
Oh yeah.
Catching up here real quick, and then I'll finally blurt out my number one. Thomas agrees that Hotter Than Hell sounds more like a debut album. Robbie says Great Expectations is one of his favorite songs off Destroyer. Lots of people dislike it. It blows away Beth, in his opinion. Interesting there. Thomas then says Hotter Than Hell sounds exactly how they looked back then. Love the album because it is so underground. Yeah, I mean, there is something to say about the sound and the look, and it does give that grittiness, but it could have still been a little bit better. We all know, because even the cover, like the picture of the band being in black and white, to me just kind of fits that sound so perfectly. Like why was that picture not even in color? You know, it's like,
Yeah.
So anyway, my number one, for those that may have kept track, also Love Gun. And I also realized that my top three were Love Gun, Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over. So I guess that solidifies that I feel that is the most solid trilogy of albums as far as in between the Alive cycles. God, Love Gun to me just sounds like the perfect time capsule of that period of 1977. And it's like for someone that wasn't even alive at that time, like me, it's like when I listen to the first song, I Stole Your Love, it just to me puts me in this mindset and mood of like how it must have felt in the 70s. I get that way with certain songs from the 80s, like not Kiss, but like other random 80s songs that I'll hear. It puts me back in the mindset of the 80s. And it's just weird, like hearing I Stole Your Love, especially. I just get that, like, man, this just sounds like the perfect song that described what it felt like to be a Kiss fan at that time, and that whole vibe and the whole, going to the shows and like they depict in Detroit Rock City, that kind of thing. And, I love the sound of the album too. Ace's guitar is pretty much, I'd say, the studio version of what we get on Alive 2 as far as his tone. Christine 16, love that song. Shock Me, of course. Almost Human, that's the big sleeper on that album, I think. Plaster Caster, all that. Excuse me. So, pardon. But yeah, so many good songs. Like you were saying, Then She Kissed Me. Yeah, no problem with that because I love the solo. It's very catchy. Definitely another album from beginning to end. So I guess to reiterate, the first album, Hotter Than Hell, Dress to Kill, Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, Love Gun, Dynasty, all those albums I love from beginning to end, just counting studio albums, not counting the live stuff and all that. As far as 70s albums go, there's a few, there's some of the 80s albums that are the same way. I love them from beginning to end, which we'll get into. Tapes for Hotter Than Hell disintegrated when they tried to remaster it. That's crazy. Shredded into pieces.
Shredded to pieces.
Wow.
Crazy.
The Story of Love Blew Me Away at the Hot in the Shade concert. I bet.
I would, yeah.
Especially
that's one of my favorite live concerts to watch is the Hot in the Shade concert that's on Alive 2 or Alive 2 Kissology 2.
Yeah, as much as I love Deuce and Detroit Rock City is always a great opener, I Stole Your Love was almost the most perfect opener, especially for that time frame. The way they would come down on those cherry pickers or whatever. And it was just such a cool opening moment, for that Love Gun era. Not to mention that's probably my second favorite, look that they had next to the Creatures look is the Love Gun era with the costumes and how everything looked at that time, and just so awesome. So that wraps up our least favorite to favorite albums. Now we get to the even harder part. So out of all those songs, out of all those albums, let's start with least favorite.
Ooh.
So what did you and all of you guys in the chat pick as your one least favorite song out of that whole catalog?
Yeah, just for the 70s decade.
Yes.
Yeah. That made it really difficult, especially too. I don't even really feel good about this, but I picked When You Wish Upon a Star.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's clearly the least Kiss-ish song of all of the ones in the 70s, you know what I mean? And I think we talked about this when we did Gene's album too. Thematically, it makes so much sense, and I'm glad that he did this for him. I dislike listening to this most of the time. You know what I mean? It's and it's because it's kind of hard to listen to, and not because it's bad, it's because it's emotional. And so you could absolutely 100% argue that it should be the way it is because it captured that real emotion for him in the moment. And again, I'm completely glad he did it. But if I had to pick one track off of these 14 albums that I feel like the discography would be better if it weren't on there, I think When You Wish Upon a Star fits that bill for me.
So we have 2 votes for Hold Me, Touch Me from the gallery. That's interesting.
Yeah, that would have been pretty far down the list for me as well.
Yeah. We have A Kiss in Time from Brandon. But we also have make that 3 for Hold Me, Touch Me.
Yeah.
But
I completely agree, you guys.
As of right now, we also have 2 picks for When You Wish Upon a Star because that was also my choice. I was battling. I Hold Me, Touch Me was one that crossed my mind. Coming Home. I was even thinking, Then She Kissed Me, Any Way You Want It, but I'm like, no, you know what? I enjoy those songs too much to consider it my least favorite. And then I got to thinking, and I'm like, yeah, The Wish Upon a Star, and I think you basically said it the best. I mean, it literally just does not fit the most out of all those songs, out of all those albums. And yeah, the meaning behind it, yeah, that's great, 100%. Not knocking it for that. It's just like you said. I agree too. I feel like it's just the least. Which one's not like the other? That's probably the more oddball Black Sheep song out of every song if you put them all together and how they line up with each album.
Absolutely.
Now, that was hard too. Oh, we got our Then She Kissed Me from Lonnie Parker. So that's hard too, but is it even harder to now say which one is your favorite? Because, good Lord, there's a lot to fight around your brain and really decide which one is truly your favorite.
Yeah. This sucked, honestly. This sucked so bad. What's funny is if you ask me what's your favorite Kiss song, no holds barred, no extra stuff, just what's your favorite Kiss song, I could tell you absolutely. In a heartbeat, I could tell you. But when I'm not allowed to access my personal favorite 80s albums, that's when it became, because I so desperately wanted to be weird. You know what I mean? I so desperately wanted it to be like Mr. Speed or something that like nobody else has thrown out there.
There you go, chicken.
You met me, yeah. And like we said at the beginning, naturally, I had to just pretend like that's the kind of sugar Papa likes didn't exist. I went with Detroit Rock City.
Okay.
Again, it's just got everything I look for not only in an exciting song, but in an exciting album opener. It builds that excitement. It comes in strong. It punches you in the face. It's catchy. It's memorable. It's got a neat riff. It's got a ripping guitar solo, a double guitar solo at that. So you get guitar solos from Ace and Paul. The ending is exciting, even just how it stops. The crash is exciting. Much as I wanted to pick something that everybody's going to be like, oh, wow, didn't expect that. I can't deny Detroit Rock City. It's such a good freaking song.
You mentioned Mr. Speed, and I feel like an idiot for forgetting to mention that song, talking about Rock and Roll. I mean, my God, one of the best songs on that album, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, so obviously, I'm assuming you're talking about the Destroyer version of Detroit, since based on how you described it. Just to verify with Thomas and Ronnie and Brandon, for that matter, I'm assuming you guys are all referring to the album versions of those songs, right? Or could it be the live?
Or or the double platinum on some of them.
So please just verify. I'm assuming you all mean, the self-titled album and Dress to Kill. Just want to be sure. So for me, yeah, I mean, for us to sit here and say, "Oh, it's hard," I mean, that's a given. It's we almost ended up in an insane asylums by the time we had to settle on one song out of all these. But again, I was just kind of talking about it, and it kept coming back to me, and I just couldn't deny it anymore. My favorite had to be "I Stole Your Love."
Nice.
And again, for all those same reasons. Ronnie says actually
a
live version, very cool. That is, I do tend to like that version a little better. But yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and repeat everything I just said basically about "I Stole Your Love," but that is basically the main reason. Absolutely, the studio versions for Thomas there. Robbie says Magic Touch is definitely a favorite 70s Kiss song. Black Diamond and Detroit City are the best though, yeah. Magic Touch that's a nasty song, man.
That's for sure.
And then yes, album version for Brandon. Yeah, I mean that's really what it comes down to for me with "I Stole Your Love" is that feel. And I just feel like it's kind of, like I said, that perfect kind of defining Kiss song of the 70s, at least for me. At the height of where they were at during that time frame. I feel like that song describes it. Just perfect. Yeah, that was a tough one to pick, but I just, like I said, as much as I kept trying to lean towards something, like off. I was even thinking something off Destroyer, like Detroit, or maybe first album, but it was like "I Stole Your Love" just kept coming. Like, nope, don't deny it, don't deny it. And again, the beauty about this, if we did this same kind of idea, say a year later, whatever, it might be a whole different song. The album rankings are probably going to be all different, everything.
Yeah. So. Yeah, we did this.
Yes.
A few years ago now, at the end of the 4K. Maybe it wasn't even at the end of the 4K. It might have been after we reviewed Dynasty the first to go through the discography. We ranked these 70s albums, and mine changed quite drastically.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't keep yours in this new file, so I'm not sure how yours compared. But yeah, I'm sure we could do this again next week, and I'd probably have a different favorite song and different least favorite song at the very least.
Yeah, I almost want to go back and watch that old episode of the show where I think we did kind of rank the 70s albums or something.
Yeah, it was more of like a side note to whatever else we were doing.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of curious what I might have said, like even about stuff like Dynasty at that time, because I'm pretty sure, like even at that time, I still wasn't a full blown fan of Dynasty as far as the whole thing at that point, even. So I'm almost curious what I might have said.
Right.
Sure, it was stupid either
Right.
way.
Right. Yeah.
But...
Yeah. I don't remember when we did that, but I definitely had it in here from before. So yeah, we were kind of thinking, guys, we might do a little mini series based on this. It seems like you guys really enjoy playing along. This is some of the most fun we've had with the chat in a long time. I think you guys want to do rank the '80s albums next week?
Yeah, we're thinking we'll do the '80s, and then we'll do like '90s and 2000s kind of mashed together, since there wasn't as many for each.
That'd be a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah, again, we love the interaction in the chat, and then of course, um, anyone's welcome. If you guys want to come on here on video with us when we're doing these things, and we'd love to have an extra person on here talking about the albums and the songs, and um, anyone is more than welcome. Do not, don't hesitate to ask. Don't feel shy about it or anything. If you want to come on, we'd love to have you.
Absolutely. Nice. I think that's pretty unanimous.
Yeah. Euronymous. So is there kind of like a tally for this thing final, like we were doing, or no?
I can. I didn't do that, but I totally can.
I wasn't sure
I'm
if
curious.
we were doing that, gearing up for that or what. But
yeah. Well, we might as well.
Yeah. Yeah, the '80s albums is, I feel like, to me, is even a little bit more tricky, because you got the best of both worlds there. You still got makeup stuff, and then obviously all that non-makeup stuff too. So it's like, how does that all rank up against each other? And again, favorite song, least favorite song, I don't know. Forget about it.
I can at least do favorite, because I know my favorite of all time is from that era, so I got no issues there. Oh man, we're coming across ties already. Oh, there shouldn't be ties.
No ties. Come on.
Yeah, what? Okay. Well, last place is definitely double platinum with a score of 69. Nice.
Honestly, kind of surprised that everyone agreed on that.
Yeah.
You probably can't wait until we discuss Unmasked Eldering Creatures. Yes. Next episode.
Yeah. Looks like Peter Criss in 13th place.
Very nice idea there, Ronnie. Consider an episode on the kind of guitars and drum setup of the band.
Nice, Thomas. We appreciate you tuning in, being that it's the middle of the night for you.
Yeah, much appreciated, man. Again, if by some reason you're not able to participate live, don't hesitate. Leave your rankings and stuff in the comments once you see the video. But we hope you can join us, but yeah, don't hesitate. Leave your stuff on there still. We'll definitely still get it added in.
Absolutely. Okay. 50. Oh, there's 48.
So, Ronnie, just to reiterate, I assume you mean kind of discussing each like tour cycle, or like how they had different guitars and drums for each tour, pretty much. Is that kind of the gist of it? Because I definitely like that idea. we can even have some visual aid for that kind of episode that pops up on the screen here.
Oh, and of course that would be tied too, wouldn't it? Oh, that's the tie? Okay. Okay, so you guys, all of us here in the chat right now, we've made this list, and there's 2 ties, and we got to break them. In fact, you know what's the most fair, honestly, is that Ronnie, Space Ace Ron, is the only one of us in the chat that didn't give a full list. So Ron, you ought to be the one to break these here. First off, which should win, Destroyer or Rock and Roll Over? And then secondly, the debut album or Dress to Kill?
No pressure, Ronnie.
Yeah. Those are the 2 ties we need to break. Everything else is pretty cut and dried.
Robbie, I got to agree. Animalize Uncensored should be ranked with the 80s albums because it should have been a Live 3. I totally wish it was. I wish we could.
Yeah, if they were... Honestly, that was a bit irresponsible of them not to make that a Live 3.
Yeah.
It makes you think, like, at that point, maybe they weren't ever planning to do more in the Alive series.
Now, good point there, Robbie, because we can always plan to maybe do just a episode reviewing just that concert.
We should.
That would be a good one. Too bad we can't do a live watch along with it, but we can at least review the show itself, and that's a good idea there.
Yeah. Stupid YouTube. All right, so while we're formulating our ties here, 14th was definitely double platinum. Rock and Roll Over, okay. The second one, Ronnie, was the debut album or Dress to Kill? Okay. All right. So 14th place, double platinum. 13th place, Peter Criss. 12th place, Paul Stanley. 11th place, Gene Simmons. 10th place, Alive. 9th place, Alive 2. 8th place, Hotter Than Hell. 7th place, Ace's solo album. 6th place, Destroyer. 5th place, Rock and Roll Over. 4th place, Dynasty. 3rd place, Love Gun. And Ronnie's just decided.
Ooh.
So 2nd place, Dress to Kill, and 1st place, the debut album.
Wow.
That's what you get when you put all of our votes together.
I mean, I guess it's kind of fitting, the debut album, but hey. I can't say I don't like the idea. It's definitely a good album.
Yeah. Yeah. Always interesting to see putting everything in a line like that. I never would have expected Destroyer to be so low. I honestly didn't expect Dress to Kill to be so high.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I was surprised Double Platinum was dead last. I thought it was going to end up being Gene or Peter or something, you know.
Right. Pretty close. A lot of the other ones were close.
But definitely a couple good future ideas there. I definitely jotted those down for future show ideas, good topics.
Yes.
That's another thing we want to hear too. If you guys have topics you'd love to hear us discuss and discuss with us, do not hesitate either to let us know. We will not turn down options.
For sure. Unless you want to do a live watch along of Gene's sex tape. Because we might turn down that option.
So you're saying I should delete that off the list then? Or
No, I mean, honestly, we ought to just do it right now.
Yeah, I agree, Robbie. That's a good list.
I'm going to go ahead and set up our 80s one for next week, so I'm already excited to do that. A lot less albums. Looking at this, wow. Yeah, it looks like we're only looking at, what, 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, yeah. And that's counting smashes, thrashes, and poops. And killers. Oh no. So we're going to end today's podcast by getting shut down from YouTube.
Well, I guess it'll be similar to the way Gene sex tape ends. We're going to get... right?
Oh, that's perfect. Now, wouldn't it be ironic if YouTube doesn't shut us down?
Well, yeah, this is fine, guys. Don't try to talk
Now this mountain I must climb feels like the world upon my shoulder. But through the clouds I see love shine. It keeps me warm as life grows colder. In my life there's been heartache and pain. I don't know if I can face it again. Can't stop now. I've traveled so far to change this lonely life. I wanna know what love is. I want you to show me.
Robbie.
I wanna feel what love is. I know you can show me.
Hey, look, you guys aren't going to get this on any other Kiss podcast.
I'm gonna take a little time.
Oh, yeah, no, totally, Robbie. This is a great song.
Look around me. I've got nowhere left to hide. Looks like love
Why is he holding a knife?
found me. In my life, there's been heartache and pain. I don't know if I can face it again. I can't stop now. I've traveled so far to change this lonely life. I wanna know what love is. I want you to show me.
Cannot believe we haven't got shut down.
I know you can show me. I wanna know what love is. I want you to show me. I wanna feel what love is. I know you can show me. Let's talk about love. I wanna know what love.
All right, guys. Sorry to subject you to that.
Oh, man, that's too good. Do good.
Thomas said, "Finally found my way" is worse. Yeah, there's a
Oh,
bit of an inside joke that relates that song to the Gene tape. If you guys don't know what we mean,
yeah.
might not want to know what love is. Speaking of people that
You'd
look like
certainly
Bob,
think love would be interesting.
speaking of people that look like Bob Kulick, when I went and saw the Almond Betts band, their drummer looks like the evil version of Bob Kulick.
Huh.
Got like the curly mustache and everything, bald. All right, everybody. We're going to get out of here then, since we haven't been banned yet.
Figures too.
We were all holding up our lighters.
That's awesome.
Maybe we should all be holding up Viagra in honor of Gene. I don't know. All right, I'm going to go wash my brain out and forget what I ever saw.
Yes.
Well, man, thank you all. We love you guys. That was great interaction for this episode. We can't wait to do the 80s and beyond after that. So, like we said, if you can't join us live on the next episode, leave your comments on the video. If you want to come on and chat with us live as we discuss these, feel free to do so. Just let us know. We'd love to have anybody on here to discuss with us. So, all right, let's, again, best wishes to Gene and everybody else in the KISS camp, that everyone stays healthy and good, and hopefully these shows get back on track. Nothing else gets postponed or canceled. So, until next time, we will see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining. And peace out, Robbie. See you later.